Good morning. Early today, right? For a change while I'm traveling. So it explains the somewhat erratic schedule. But welcome to all of you. It's good to have new faces here again on a day when I am here on the stream early. We've got a lot of news to report because it seems that there are some firings going on or about to be going on, or at least at the very least being deliberated as we speak at one MSNBC. We begin on Rachel Maddow possibly being out because this is a liability for a company, and they're looking at her and saying, you know what, she's basically run her course. We'll get into that. Plus, Hunter Biden's broke. He's like completely out of money. And so he thinks that that's a reason to shut down the lawsuit against him. I don't think so. You know, Trump is not going to do that. So tough luck. You know, Hunter, I'm sorry, you can't sell any art. Now that daddy's not president, I guess that's just the way it goes. And then the other big story I want to get to, and this is just breaking as we speak, Kash Patel over at the FBI has discovered that there are 3 military informants, in other words, people within the U.S. military, the Army Division 2 that are currently or were active members, along with another that were selling intel and secrets to China. So we have to talk about that. Big, big story. Anyway, we begin on new demands for Rachel Maddow to be out. New demands for Rachel Maddow to be out at none other than one MSNBC. New calls for Rachel Maddow to be out at MSNBC as we speak, ladies and gentlemen, and it's in part because of, well, a variety of things, but you have only to look at some of her comments made the other night during the president's joint address in which she, for whatever reason, thought it was a good idea to go after this kid, a 13-year-old kid named DJ Daniels, who is a brain cancer survivor. You know, he's been dealing with brain cancer since he was about 6 years old. Somehow she thought this was okay to go after him. And I'll tell you, this is really showcasing, I think, perhaps what is just so desperately wrong with politics. We got a couple new developments on this front. One, the father of DJ is calling her out, saying just unacceptable. And then you have the president of the United States calling her out, saying this is absolutely unacceptable. I think we can agree with him. Not sure what's going on with the camera. The hazard of being on the road, perhaps. Again, let's go over and take a look here at what Rachel Maddow actually said.
For the record, and this is disgusting, the president made a spectacle out of praising a young man who thus far survived pediatric cancer, as if the president had something to do with that. This was in the midst of him praising Doge. The Doge cuts, among other things, have cut off funding for ongoing research into pediatric cancer.
Yeah, why does he want to go to that nothing shot? You got me. Anyway, I'm here. Rachel Maddow is clearly a problem, and increasingly now a liability, if you would, for one MSNBC. They're turning into this SpinCo, right? The SpinCo that's supposed to be the new company at MSNBC. They're going to take all the cable assets and like roll them up and spin them off and separate them from Comcast, because Comcast, as a cable company, one, has learned that, you know, the cable thing's not where it's at. They need to diversify away from that because it's a drag on their earnings stream. And then you get the political liability, frankly, and it's a ton of it, associated with people like Joy Reid, who they got rid of. Told you they would. Like Rachel Maddow, who they're looking at getting rid of, and like Nicole Wallace, who I do believe they'll get rid of. In other words, Nicole doesn't really offer them a lot. She doesn't have the star power, for example, that one Rachel Maddow would. So she's not needed. And I don't think there's any excuse for anybody saying something such as what she said. I'm going to get to that, but first, did you see here just exactly what this little boy did? I mean, it was just a beautiful moment with the head of Secret Service, Sean Curran, making him an honorary officer. It was just like a super duper 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 special moment, and so heartwarming, and yet these anchors had to attack. So the father understandably attacked back and said, you know what? My son didn't deserve this. Although he said it quite more explicitly. Quote, she needs to shut her mouth if she has nothing nice to say. Theodis Daniel told The Post of the MSNBC anchor Rachel Maddow, who declared Trump disgusting for calling out his son DJ and his cancer battle. He goes on to say, this lady didn't even serve time in the military. I was on the USS Kitty Hawk. She does not need to put her bad energy on us. You better believe it. Like, who the heck needs that? It's just unacceptable. And then, if you thought that was bad, just check out little Nikki, Nicole Wallace.
But I think this was a lesson in finding one thing that you let yourself feel. And I let myself feel joy about DJ. And I hope he's alive for another, 95 years, right? And I hope he lives.
Okay, so far so good, right? And then it takes this wild turn.
And the life he wants to live. He wants to be a cop. He knows what he wants to do. And maybe when you have childhood cancer, that crystallizes for you. And I hope he has a long life as a law enforcement officer. But I hope he never has to defend the United States Capitol against Donald Trump supporters. And if he does, I hope he isn't one of the 6 who loses his life to suicide. And I hope he isn't one who has to testify against the people who carried out acts of seditious conspiracy and then live to see Donald Trump pardon those people.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, my gosh, my gosh, my gosh. Who does that? I did a lot on this yesterday, so we don't need to belabor the point. The new development here is that executives are now considering maybe some of these members of their talent community, their host community, are not worth having, given how toxic they have become. But I did say yesterday, I encourage you to go back and look at that show, that this woman clearly lacks empathy. And that is perhaps the entire problem with the Democrat Party right now. They have no empathy. They have no empathy for understanding what everyday Americans are about. They're up there in their ivory towers or in their networks, making a lot of money without any kind of sense of what the real world is. And I know Donald Trump has led a charmed life in the sense that he's had lots of money throughout most of his life. He's built something and he's worked hard for it. But I would also say this, he's never forgotten where he's come from. He never forgets where Americans come from. And that's the difference. And so when he's out there taking a stand on issues and they're taking the exact opposite, it's in part because they have no empathy. And now the president is calling on one Rachel Maddow and one Nicole Wallace, who you probably never even heard of until I told you this, to be fired.
It was very embarrassing for the Democrats what happened the other night. And that's not said for any other reason other than it's obvious, it's fact. Even CNN fake news said that. They came out and they said it. And worse than CNN is MSDNC, which is the worst. And the good news is very few people watch them anymore. They have lost such credibility. And frankly, what Nicole Wallace said, I've never been a fan of hers, and she's not very talented. But I'll tell you, what she said the other day about that young man is disgraceful. She should be forced to resign. And Rachel Maddow should be forced to resign. Nobody watches her anyway. I don't know if it's not possible they pay her as much money as I hear. But certainly she's lost all credibility, both of them. But what they said the other day, they should be forced to resign about that young person who is suffering greatly. Thank you, Nick.
Will you?
He's right. It's just like we've reached the point of no return. Did you see him in the State of the Union the other night when he got up there and he said, "It doesn't matter what I do. I can cure cancer. I can fix everything." And they're going to still sit there and refuse to clap. They're going to sit there, refuse to clap for a 13-year-old kid. And then you're going to have their little, cronies at MSNBC, the ammunition, come out to strike against a 13-year-old kid. I mean, I'm sorry, we're reaching the point of no return. This is just disgusting. and she should be fired. So this is something I'm hearing through back channels that executives, I mean, Brian Roberts, for example, he thought the solution was you just spin it off. Brian Roberts is the CEO of Comcast. And he thought, okay, well, this is better for shareholders. They have some tax value in doing this. And of course, that business itself is no longer a business worth having. We know everything's changed, right? Everybody's over here. We're streaming, baby. We're streaming. Make sure you subscribe, like, share, make a comment, all that stuff, because every bit helps. I know I'm on early today. I'm actually traveling, and I wanted to make sure I got on with you ahead of a trip I'm about to undertake. You know, I'm here every day, no matter what, no matter where I am in the world. You got me. And I'm committed to this. But what I would say is make sure you hit the bell so you know exactly when I'm on. It is high time. It is high time, ladies and gentlemen, that we start to have some semblance of decency again. And I don't think that's what you're seeing from that side. And so Brian Roberts, the CEO, I'm hearing, is just saying, okay, enough is enough, right? Like he got to that point with Joy Reid. And they fired her. They have a new head of MSNBC, Rebecca something. I mean, I'm sure she's as left as the rest of them. But if you're running a business, this is what we would just say is not good for business. And if it's not good for business, it's not going to be good for shareholders. And when they spin this thing off, who the heck wants to buy a share of this spinco with MSNBC? And Rachel Maddow out there saying nonsense while simultaneously losing your money. Because that's not a business that can succeed in a new media world. All right? So that's the good news, at least. The bad news is she's still on the air today. But I don't think for long. Oh, I got a big story to tell you about. Hunter Biden, ladies and gentlemen. Hunter Biden. Hunter Biden is going broke. Going broke. Hey, Spiritfield, it's really good to see you. Thank you for your generosity. Thank you. It's a working vacation. You know me. I never actually take vacation, but I am getting a chance to get a little bit of vitamin D, which I need a lot. Anyway, you guys, this is amazing. Hunter Biden says he's broke. He's out of money. He just doesn't have the wherewithal because, you can't really sell paintings when daddy's out of the Oval Office now, can you? Apparently, he only sold one. She only had like $35,000 in income compared to some $1 million that he got the year before. So business is drying up for Hunter. And so his lawyers are saying, okay, because of this, we think that he should not actually have to go through with this trial on his laptop. Excuse me? I'm sorry. Didn't you guys actually keep suing and suing and suing? Oh, I can think of one Letitia James who really loved to sue one Donald Trump to the point where she got him to the $500 million, nearly $500 million, $500 million, by the way, dollar bond. And then when he didn't have the cash right away, she was saying, I'm going to confiscate his assets. We're going to go take his assets. And like she was staking out one of his golf courses. Unbelievable, right? Hunter, I'm sorry, Daddy can't get you out of... Oh, well, Daddy can get you out of jail. Daddy did get you out of jail. The difference is, though, he may have to face civil charges. So he's like, I can't deal with this anymore. I can't pay my lawyers. I'm totally broke. I'm not selling any more art. And I guess it's tough, right? When the schemes that you had going, whether it be being an artist, whether it be being Ocean 2 Travel, thank you so much. I appreciate the generosity. I really, really do. When you see that there is no more there coming from daddy's cronies or people who are trying to buy influence. I mean, I'm just saying, like, do you really think his art was worth what they were paying? I don't think so. But then again, I would not have thought that he could qualify for a job at Burisma when he knew nothing about the energy industry. Burisma was a natural gas company, you'll recall, out of Ukraine. Daddy was in charge of Ukraine policy while during the Obama administration. He was the guy in charge. Candy, thank you so much. Good to, oh my gosh, I have such a generous crowd. Where did Hunter's money go? I don't know. Where do you think Hunter's money went? I'm guessing to some little offshore thing. Although he did have a few bad habits along the way, did he not? That was costing him plenty. Anyway, Hunter's out of money. He's totally broke. He says he can't fight these legal lawsuits anymore because of it. And I say, you know what, Hunter, tough. You don't really have a choice because if you have to go get yourself a public defender, go get yourself a public defender. You're still in trouble. And we don't really care that you can't sell art when dad's not in the White House. I mean, it's not the Americans' problem. You know what is a problem is what actually went on. I still want to get to the bottom of that. And we are going to get to the bottom of that. Because what has been discovered by Doge would just blow your mind. I mean, this is incredible. This NGO scheme, if you would. NGOs that were packing in all kinds of money. They're calling them NGO pop-ups, you guys. Because basically all you had to do was fill out a 49-page form, say you're an NGO that cared about climate change and all those good things, and then what do you know? If you knew the right people, you could get a lot of money. In fact, you could get up to $7 billion. That was the largest. This climate change NGO got $7 billion of your money, taxpayer money. I mean, this is incredible. It started under Obama. It continued during Joe Biden. You want to know why they were so freaked out about Donald Trump? Because they were going to discover this. These little NGO pop-ups, if you would. Take a look. Here's the form you had to fill out. 49 pages, and that's your ticket to billions of dollars. So there was this one company that got $7 billion. I mean, wild. For climate change, $7 billion after filling out a 49-page little form. I honestly think that this is kind of like the real story. I actually think this is fully illegal. I mean, all kinds of crazy things that were going on. I mean, if you look at these tax returns, right? This is just one of the pop-up NGO shells called Climate United Fund. And it turned out to be the biggest nonprofit grant in history. You had Biden's massive climate slush funds. You had Kamala Harris and Biden's EPA chief, Michael Regan, no relation to Trish Regan, thank you very much, that gave $7 billion total to the suddenly created, after filling out 49 pages, Climate United Fund in April 2024. I mean, this is not too long ago. And they gave it $7 billion. It had launched only 5 months earlier, on November 30th, 2022. It had returns showing a tiny $547,000 in revenue. Are you kidding me? And suddenly you turn around and give it $7 billion of our money? It spent a massive $451,000 of that $547,000 that it made in just 2 months in 2023. And it spent a quarter of that on legal fees. The majority of the $326,000 or $25,000 was just mysteriously blown. Nobody really knows because the tax returns don't say. And this is nuts. You had some projects in Idaho, in Oregon, and Arkansas that came to about $50 million. Again, a fraction of the $7 billion. Somehow it gave out a whole lot of money to something called Power Forward's Communities, which was linked to Stacey Abrams. I think they get real problems here, guys. I mean, real problems. I think that this is not only highly ethically unquestionable, but probably totally illegal. Like, this is a scam that people will go to jail for if it's fully uncovered. You don't take $7 billion from the American people and squander it fraudulently like this. My former colleague over at Fox, Jesse Waters, good guy, he did a little on this last night and outlined where some of the money was going. Let's take a quick peek.
Found that when Biden announced he was giving out money to fight climate change, Democrats and donors with ties to Biden and Obama lined up for grants. Some of them even formed new nonprofits right after they heard about the climate cash. Stacey Abrams was hired by a group called Rewiring America. Then they were awarded $500 million in taxpayer money. Ari Matsuiak is the CEO of that same organization. He worked in the Obama administration and donated thousands to Kamala. Beth Baffert is the CEO of the Climate United Fund, which got $7 billion of your money. $7 billion. Beth worked for the Obama campaign and White House earlier in her career, but told Primetime there's no relationship between Climate United and any political party. I'm sure of it. Richard Kaufman also worked for Obama, and he's a big-time donor, big time. He sent over $500,000 to Democrats. He got a good return on his investment, though. His group, Coalition for Green Capital, got $5 billion. Oh, but they say they're nonpartisan. The Opportunity Finance Network was awarded more than $2 billion. Their CEO, Harold Pettigrew, who got the job months before the grant's application went public, worked under Biden. If you want to get rich quick, start a nonprofit.
Basically, the government-funded NGOs are a way to do things that would be illegal if they were the government, but are somehow made legal if it's sent to a so-called nonprofit. But these nonprofits are then used to...
And then the nonprofits are used to advance political causes. I mean, this is unbelievable, guys. And this is what they didn't want you to find out. It is a theft. I'm looking at some of your commentary, a massive, massive theft. And it's got to be exposed. All of it's coming out. I mean, this is what the American people actually appreciate. This is why they're for Doge and what's actually happening right now. But this is, I mean, the corruption, the level of corruption, I think now it's sort of finally being crystallized to people. Why is it that they didn't want Donald Trump? Why were they so fearful of him? Well, because all of this was going to come to an end. And indeed, that's exactly where we are. It is all coming to an end. Remember to subscribe, share, like. We have so much more to get to. I'm going to talk about the military and Kash Patel's discovery there. But, you know, I just got to say, you know, in terms of this NGO stuff, the government should be working for the people, okay? People should not go into government so that they can get rich quick, right? This is not how it was intended to be. And so I love that it's being exposed, and I look forward to all of these people being taken down in an extreme way. If they are found to have criminally done something wrong, and in my estimation, it's criminal, but you know what, you know, as Elon was saying, there may be some workarounds in terms of the law, and that's terrible and that's bad, but we have to get this to stop, okay? We absolutely have to get this to stop. Quick reminder, 1 year anniversary of the 76 report. Check this out. This is some good news, okay? I know the market's been kind of challenging and really rocky lately, but guess what? Not over at 76 Research because we were picking the right companies. Go to 76 Portfolio, sign up for one of these or all of these. That's the best value. It's my company that I started just 1 year ago this week with my dear friend, longtime friend, Rob Horton, brilliant stock picker, ran billions of dollars on Wall Street for some 20 years. You know, I've been covering financial markets my entire career, and I really think this is a good opportunity, very, very cost effective. Normally this costs like thousands of dollars. They spend like, hedge funds will spend like $10,000 a year on a subscription like this. We're not even, we're not in that zip code, okay? You can actually get the 76 report for $1 a month with code word dollar, DOLLAR, and you can get these model portfolios for very little money. Frankly, I think it's like one of the best value. I created this actually because I wanted to be able to help you guys, and I knew that there'd be lots of opportunities. And so go check that out. Again, we're celebrating the 1 year anniversary. If you go to 76portfolios.com, you can look at the specific portfolios because there's 10 to 15 stocks in each name. You should get them all. Just become a member of the Founders Club, and then you get all the new portfolios as they come in. Don't forget, the whole... Did you see the Bitcoin strategic reserve? I mean, that's amazing, right? The Bitcoin strategic reserve and the crypto reserve that this White House has put in, this is all part of the same theme. This digitalization of the world, if you would, that still aims to protect privacy. And if there's one person I trust with that, it is Donald Trump. And you get some smart people around him like David Sachs, our new crypto czar. We're going to be coming out with a crypto newsletter. Again, if you sign up for Founders Club, you get all the future newsletters. So just saying, I'm trying to get you a deal. Anyway, this is a bombshell of a story I've got for you right now. Kash Patel, ladies and gentlemen, he's coming out charging 3 members of the military, 2 current members of the military, 2 former members of the military. Truly unbelievable stuff that I just have to share with you because this is pretty scary, and yet indeed quite real. So he's charging 3 members of the military with espionage, selling intel to, you guessed it, China. I mean, what the heck is going on, right? This is just terrible. So 3 traitors there in the U.S. military, 3 traitors, 2 military members selling the intel. 1 is a veteran, a former member of the military. And they, let me give you a little bit more information. Again, this is just coming into us, breaking news right now. The DOJ is actually following forward with these charges after Kash Patel and his team had investigated these guys, these very, very bad guys who are, frankly, is about un-American as you can get. There are 2 U.S. Army active duty soldiers identified as Jian Zhao and Li Tian. They were stationed at Joint Base Lewis McChord in Washington State. Zhao is a battery supply sergeant assigned to the 17th Field Artillery Brigade. Tian is a Human Health Services Administrator. And then the former soldier, Ryu Duan of Hillsboro, Oregon, served in the Army between 2013 and 2017, and they seem to be working for China. According to this indictment, again, that was just filed today in the U.S. District Court for Western Washington, Mr. Zhao managed over $55 million worth of Army property, was accused of selling nearly 24 classified hard drives marked secret or top secret, as well as sensitive U.S. military documents and information pertaining to high mobility artillery rocket systems to buyers in China, including one co-conspirator based in the city of Changchun. Thank goodness we've got Akash Patel in there today. I mean, this is bad stuff. It shows you the scale at which China is operating, to the point where they're even infiltrating our U.S. military with 2 active members and 1 veteran. So these charges are moving forward. The DOJ bringing the charges forward after the FBI had researched this and discovered this. And I have a feeling, sadly, there's more to come. Reminder to make sure you subscribe to the show. Make sure you hit the bell. Make sure you hit a like. We want to get those likes to help grow this channel. I got to get to some unbelievable commentary out of one Jasmine Crockett that, believe it or not, they're actually thinking about putting this woman up for presidency in 2028. I say, hey, do it all day long. You know what? We'll just keep winning. I like winning, don't you? In the meantime, make sure you check out one of our great show sponsors here, Balance of Nature. Use code word Trish. Code word Trish. Balanceofnature.com. You get up to... Oh, no, you do. Not up to. You get 35% off, and you get free shipping, and you get a free money-back guarantee. So just by using my name, code word Trish. Democrats still scrambling right now. All eyes are on this woman for 2028. You got me. The Democrats are scrambling. I'm sitting here scratching my head like, why don't you... I don't want to give them advice, because I can actually give them very good advice. My advice all along was to never run Biden and to never run Kamala, yet, clearly they didn't take my advice. I said it back on the show. I mean, if you guys are thinking, you would have actually run Gavin Newsom. I know he's a disaster for California, but he looks the part, and he can talk the talk and walk the walk, and now he's suddenly flipping. He told my friend Charlie Kirk just yesterday that he thinks that it's a no-brainer that girls should be competing against girls and not trans athletes. It's like, well, where'd that come from? Oh, I guess he really does want to get serious about running in 2028. But, his party's so messed up that they're not going to get there. Instead, they're looking at this little number who needs to work on her language.
First of all, thank you for making the back of my head famous. But second of all, if we could do a sequel, if you could tell Donald Trump anything tonight, what would you tell him?
I would tell him to grow a spine and stop being Putin's hoe.
What? Did I hear that right? Yeah, I heard that right. You heard that right too. Okay, so like I said, she does need to clean up her language. Occasionally we have to clean it up for her. Like literally every time a soundbite comes, I have to say to the team, hey, just make sure there's no more F-bombs or other things in there, because this woman, Jasmine Crockett is her name. I'm sorry, Leslie, if you're watching from Texas. Leslie is just a wonderful, she's been on the Trish Regan channel here in our community from the very beginning, like when I had 10 people watching. And she's like, I can't believe they elected her in Texas. Leslie's from Texas. I'm sorry. Yeah. I don't know what Texas is thinking, other than they get some serious gerrymandering going on there. Here we go.
Listen, he up there, he's hearing all kinds of nonsense and bullshit. Let me just be real. And we weren't gonna sit for that shit. We wouldn't, we showed up. And if he had some sense, then maybe we would have been about that life. But y'all know he ain't got no sense. So please give some love. This took a little bit of coordinating to do for sure. We got some cool shirts. We got Madam Williams, who just happens to have the honorary seat. It's not even honorary because she's holding it down, y'all. But the legend himself, John Lewis, that is the seat in which she currently serves. So she honored his legacy. This is the message that she wanted to send today. We've got my sis, Andrea Salinas, and she kept it real simple. Resist. That's what we about. Where's Maxwell? We got Max. No kings live here, okay?
No kings.
Yeah, we sending
no
a message. We sending a message. We've got President Musk. Y'all saw the camera just flash to him, because this is really his administration. And we got another resist. Listen, and mine is let me get you, Jazz.
Shirley Chisholm, the ultimate unbought and unbossed. That's Jasmine Crockett.
Right, y'all.
I mean, honestly. So here's what you don't know, though. That's an act. That's what's come out just in the last 24 hours, I think, as her name has come up increasingly as possibly the next presidential contender in 2028. People have started to do what you might call a little bit of opposition research. And in that opposition research, what they have found is actually she's really not as, dare I say, trash talking or ghetto-like as you might think. That actually that's a bit of an act. During her first 2 weeks in Congress, she spoke very differently. And then at some point she just decided, this ain't working for me, right? So I'm going to develop a different persona, and that persona is what's going to propel me forward because it's going to be so freaking bizarre and so unlike anything that anybody's ever seen before that's actually going to propel me forward. So what is worth knowing is that she is actually somebody who grew up fairly affluently. She went to a $35,000 school for her high school education. Then she attended Rhodes College, where tuition is somewhere around $55,000 per year. So she's sort of cosplaying, to use one of their words that they like. Wasn't that the Timmy's word, cosplaying a gangsta, right? She's trying to pretend she's a gangsta. But she actually went to this exclusive day school, and she's actually kind of not from the hood. She actually grew up in a rather exclusive environment. So it's well, the real Jasmine Crockett, please stand up. I mean, really. And the weird thing is she's kind of catching on. That bit about Putin's hoe, that actually catches on. I mean, sad to say, not probably with the voters. That's where she's going to have some difficulty. But with the young people, the question is, can you motivate those young people into actually going to the voting booths? I don't think so. I mean, we saw that Donald Trump motivated a lot of young people. But what Jasmine is trying to do is just scrape the bottom of the barrel. And I don't think the bottom of the barrel is really going to show up to vote. So all in all, when I look at this, I say, okay, it's interesting. They think she has some star power. She's going to replace AOC. AOC's freaking out. Oh my gosh, where am I? Well, you couldn't deliver the Hispanic vote, lady, so they're kind of done with you. And they're putting their money on Jasmine Crockett, to which I say, hey, great, do it all day long. 1, she's a phony. 2, she talks like she's from the gutter, even though she's not. And people will see through her, not to mention they don't want someone like that representing the United States of America on an international scale. I mean, it's just not going to happen. Reminder, sign up for 76 Research, code word dollar. We were just talking about the Bitcoin reserve, right, and the crypto reserve. We've got a crypto newsletter coming out. So we also actually, by the way, just yesterday put out a new note on 76 Research about one of our picks that's up 8% and is actually a great play on tariffs, because I know everybody's nervous with tariffs, et cetera. Debbie, thank you so much. I appreciate the generosity. Debbie Ragsdale, thank you so much. But this is a good way anyway for you guys to be thinking about markets right now as you try and contemplate just what exactly to do for the future. And I would say there's a lot of good stuff ahead, and there's going to be a lot of buying opportunities ahead. Debbie Ragsdale. All right, moving on to our next story, because we still have a fair amount to get through here. Jasmine, forget about it. Absolutely, positively forget about it. In the meantime, we have 4 mayors being charged. We talked a little bit about this yesterday, but what I didn't have a chance to show you is this unbelievable sound that came in. This is one Brandon Gill. I'm friends with his stepdad, full disclosure, who happens to be Dinesh D'Souza, a dear friend, a great podcaster. And a brilliant guy. Anyway, Brandon, super smart as well, who's married to Dinesh's super smart daughter. They all went to Dartmouth. They're like really just a wonderful, wonderful family. And Brandon was questioning the mayor of Chicago yesterday. And I just found this fantastic because it really put it all out there. The mayor of Chicago is like making it very clear he doesn't care two bits about his constituents in Chicago. He's all about protecting illegals. These sanctuary city guys, they are in a whole lot of trouble. I mean it, a whole lot of trouble. Let's watch Brandon as he questions right now, as he questions the mayor of Chicago, who is now being referred to Pam Bondi for criminal arrest. They are going to move forward with prosecutions in 4 cities. We're talking about the mayor of Boston. We're talking about the mayor of Denver. We're talking about the mayor of Chicago, possibly New York is in there, but here is Mayor Johnson with Brandon.
I want to ask you a series of questions. If you could answer with a yes or no answer, that'd be great. First of all, do you support allowing illegal aliens to obtain driver's licenses? Just yes or no.
So the city of Chicago has been a welcoming city for over 40 years.
I'll take that as a yes. Next question.
And that's the policy that we will hold to.
Do you support tax dollars subsidizing or paying for the health care of illegal aliens?
I support investments in all residents of the people of Chicago, and that's what I do.
That's a yes as well. Do you support free or reduced college for illegal aliens?
Again, I support the investments of all residents of the people of Chicago.
Take that as a yes. Next question. Do you support allowing non-citizens to vote in local elections?
Again, I'm not over the jurisdiction of that type of law, but again, I'm committed to investing in all residents of the people of Chicago.
I'll take that as a yes. I've got an article from the Chicago Sun-Times, and I'll quote here briefly. Johnson proposed, among other things, that all residents, regardless of citizenship status, be able to vote for Chicago Board of Education members. Next question. Your website states, and this is your campaign website, quote, I will not stop fighting until abortion access is completely secure for people all over the country, end quote. Yes or no, do you support taxpayer-funded abortions for illegal aliens?
I support the reproductive rights of all people, all women.
That is a yes as well. Your mayoral transition website mentioned support for creating a Chicago Board of Education non-citizen advisory board. Again, yes or no, do you support appointing non-citizens to government advisory boards?
I was invited here today to discuss welcoming cities.
Yes or no?
I was invited here to discuss welcoming cities.
This is a yes or no
If you're interested in asking me questions about the welcoming city, I'm happy to answer those questions.
No, we're going to move on. As you know, President Trump, unlike the previous administration, has taken serious action to bring foreign criminal gangs to justice, to take our border back and to restore public safety in our communities. He designated 8 transnational criminal organizations and cartels as foreign terrorist organizations. These are groups like Tren de Aragua, MS-13, Sinaloa, other of some of the most grotesque and ruthless and brutal organizations in the world. You, as mayor of a sanctuary city, have been virtually giving favors to illegal aliens. Apparently, you support an enormous amount of taxpayer resources going to them as well. But you yourself have also received a lot of gifts. And for those of you who don't know, Mayor Johnson has a secret gift room that is not given access to the public or for access to the Office of Inspector General. I'd like to ask you a couple questions about that. Do you know everyone who's given you a gift since you became mayor?
The city of Chicago has had a policy for 40 years
yes or no question.
Where there are individuals that would like to give gifts to
I'm
the
reclaiming
city of
my
Chicago,
time. I'm going to take that as
and
no.
we do not accept those
when
gifts.
Did you become
we
mayor?
receive them on
no, I'm
behalf
going to reclaim my
of
time
the city
here.
of Chicago.
You're not going to filibuster here. When did you become mayor?
I was elected mayor of the city of Chicago in April of 2023, and I was sworn in May 15th
on June
of 2023.
On June 12th, 2023, you received Hugo Boss cufflinks and a personalized Mont Blanc pin. Do you know who gave you those?
So I did not receive those personally. The city of Chicago
You received those
them,
on behalf
and
of
that's
the city
right
of Chicago.
on behalf of the city of Chicago.
I
every
understand
mayor
the difference.
in the
Do you know
history of Chicago who has
who
provided
gave those
gifts
to the city of
Chicago.
Do you know who gave those to the city of Chicago?
So again, on behalf of the city of Chicago, there are
It's a yes
gifts
or no
that are
question.
received, but I do not accept. Those are not my personal gifts.
You don't know.
Those are the gifts of the city of
on March
Chicago,
18th,
and that's why you are aware that they exist, because they're within the law.
Reclaim my time here, sir. On March 18th, 2024, you received a Gucci tote bag. Do you know who gave you that? Gave the city of Chicago that?
Again, I was here and I was invited.
I'll also
to
take
respond
that as
to the
on March
questions
19th,
around
2024,
welcoming
the
city. I'm
city of
happy to
Chicago
answer any of those
received
questions.
A Givenchy bag, a Kate Spade purse, and Carucci shoes. Do you know who gave the city of Chicago those?
Again, I was brought.
I'll take that as
my
a no.
energy
I'm
here
reclaiming my
to
time
respond
here, sir. I
on
am
behalf of the
reclaiming
city
my
of Chicago.
time.
You know, normally I don't play those things out for so long, but that was just so good I had to, right? So the corruption is all getting exposed. And right now, if you're a sanctuary mayor who is offering sanctuary to people who are here illegally, I'm sorry, but the law is very clear on this. The federal government has jurisdiction. Did you hear that, Letitia James? The federal government has the jurisdiction. You know, there's a lot of things that we can debate on whether or not they have jurisdiction over. And this is one where it's just not even up for grabs. I mean, it's game over, guys, okay? So if you're going to sit there and you're going to be in opposition to this, then you are going to pay the price. Joe Burnell, good to see you back here on the channel. Thank you again for the generosity. Guess what? We got some really good news that I want to tell you about here, because the IRS is looking to downsize. The IRS is going to be cutting 45,000 jobs. I mean, remember Biden had to add 80,000 of those guys? They thought that somehow that was the answer. Oh my gosh, I remember when Janet Yellen actually wanted to get into your bank account if you had more than $600 in transactions, right? She wanted the IRS to have access to bank accounts with more than $600 in transactions, because somehow, miraculously, these guys thought that that was going to catch all the big fish tax evaders. I'm like, really? $600 you make and Janet Yellen and the IRS want to come after you? Well, you know, I think Donald Trump has a little bit of a thing with the IRS. And, you know, a lot of people in the Conservative Party are kind of like, you know, IRS, we're still not over Lois Lerner, and targeting of Tea Party activists by the IRS during the Obama administration. So we prefer a slimmer, leaner, meaner IRS. And as a result of that, we have learned that the IRS is going to begin massive firings. Secretary Bessent, Treasury Secretary of the United States, brilliant guy, by the way. I know a lot of people who have worked very closely with him in financial transactions. They think he's one of the smartest people in finance. So it's really good that we have him there. And Donald Trump, I guess one of the first questions that he pushed on him was, how can we enact tariffs, bring down this global trade deficit while simultaneously managing inflation? Not an easy thing to do, right? And so he really needed the brain power, if you would, of one Scott Bessent to come in and take the bull by the horns. Anyway, Scott was on CNBC this morning, another network I used to work at, and he was asked about these firings, and I want you to hear what he said to justify that, you know, we really don't need that many people at the IRS. We kind of functioned for like a couple centuries without them and did just fine. Here we go.
Can I just ask you about the IRS? It's the largest bureau of the Treasury Department, and DOJ has come up with a plan to cut about half of the 90,000 workers there, about 45,000. The president was very clear this week that it's the secretaries who run the departments, not DOJ. I just wonder if you agree with a cut of that size, particularly when there have been points raised and studies done that suggest that for every dollar that the IRS spends on enforcement and trying to go after bringing in revenue, brings in about $5 to $12.
Yeah, I'm not sure where this cutting half the employees came from. Yeah. What we did was there were 15,000 new employees. We did an evaluation. We kept about half. The ones that, Becky, to your point, were deemed essential to collections. Somehow the other 7,000, United States of America, collected taxes for 250 years without them. And look, this is playoff season for us. That game day is April 15th, and I have three priorities with the IRS. The collections, privacy, and customer service, in that order. So there's nothing I'm going to do to hurt the collections. Over time, we are in the midst of this great AI boom, and I think increasing headcount now would be just the wrong time, as the private corporations are moving into AI, and I can't think of a better application for AI than auditing tax returns.
How are tax returns this year so far?
We don't have the data. About the other thing, too, is when you ask about physical employees, 90% of the filing is now done online.
Yeah.
Yeah. So guess what? You've been replaced. Sorry, IRS workers, you've been replaced. And Donald Trump's all about saving money wherever he can. Heck, the guy's getting rid of the penny. And that's controversial, right? But if it costs you 3 cents to make a penny, maybe that's not, economically speaking, the best use of one's money. So it's a new day. It is a new era. There's going to be lots of opportunities. I'm not kidding. I firmly, firmly believe in this policy, and I think there will be winners. We talked about a winner in yesterday's edition of the 76 Report. I'm celebrating my anniversary. We can make it my anniversary month, right? It's actually technically the anniversary week and day. Check these out. Go look at all of these, you guys. Lots of good stuff. Hey, you know what? I'm going to see you back here on the program tomorrow live as always. Thank you for tuning in. Until then.